In the previous episode, which I'll link in the description, we talked about dominant chains in general, and just in general, it's good to practice them as an exercise around the circle of fifths counterclockwise. And I put the pictures of these two guys up because these two guys, in their music, you'll find dominant chains. That's why I put these two pictures up here, because it's a tool both styles have used. Not exclusive to either one, it's just how it's usually executed that's maybe a little different. I want to point out also that you must know how dominant chords resolve, and I have a course on this which I'll link right here. And also in the description, I talk a lot about tonicizing chords within key, from fully diminished sevenths, dominant chords, all kinds of dominant chords, and sevenths and chains and whatnot, from simple triads to really extended chord examples. So it's actually worth it in my honest opinion. So what we don't want to do is mistake in-key dominant chains with modulation. This is actually very common, and I'm not going to explain how it works in this course. You should be able to know this stuff by now. So this would be just an in-key dominant chain. It returns to the tonal center. It's not a modulation. And you'll find this again in both those guys in those pictures, music, stuff like that, in key dominant chains. So let's just do a couple of basic dominant chain modulations, not in key but modulations. We're going to go from F to G flat major, and one of the easiest ways is to treat the dominant chord within the chain as a secondary dominant to your new key. So from a G flat, this is our secondary dominant, that B flat 7. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Treating it as the 5 of 6 when we get to the B flat in the chain, okay? And then just doing a typical 2-5-1 move in G flat. Very straightforward. There's a small dominant chain there of just dominant chords. So you always want to make something slightly musical. That's why I repeated it like that. You might want to try it in different versions, like the same exact sequence. Maybe do this in the lower register that way. A very rapid way to go from F to G flat, a half step up. So the next example goes from F minor to E flat minor, and we're going to use the same dominant chain, but treat the B flat as the 5 chord of E flat minor instead of a secondary dominant. Now there is a tonicizing in key fully diminished 7th chord of 5 in here. Just to make it slightly musical. Practice the same sequences with different voicings and inversions. By the way, practice also means writing things out and not just keyboard. Take notice that you could start the same sequence in F major instead. Instead of F minor, it will still work. I didn't voice it the same as the example below, but it's the same sequence, but starting with an F major chord instead. What I really want to point out is do these basic kind of examples first, because if you don't understand basic dominant chains, then doing extended chords with dominant chains and whatnot it's pointless. You start with the simple basic stuff first and work your way up to more complicated chords, because you want to understand the foundation and beneath what's going on. Say like in Tchaikovsky's example, he's got something in his 6th symphony, for instance, there's a really devastating kind of part right after the development area in one of the movements where it sounds very devastating, and it's using dominant flat 9 chains. So start with simple, because once you understand the simple ones, the extended versions are easier, whether it's Tchaikovsky or Louis Armstrong music. Later on, we're going to see that dominant chords could also be treated as augmented sixth chords within a chain like this, which completely throws a wrench in how you can resolve them.